channel. My name is Salima, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the third thing that I did in my 30s, that I initiated in my 30s so that I could live in an energy of wellness and vibrancy and just be fabulous in my 40s, because I'm almost 45 now. So if you want a little bit of the backstory and origin story of how this was initiated in my 30s, you can go to the very first video. I'll talk about that. But for just wanting these videos to be a little bit more concise, a little bit more time friendly, I want to just get into the third thing. So for the third thing that I did in my 30s is I learned to detach from negative narratives and just work on my inner critic and my perfectionism. One of the first things that I had to do in order to really detach from these negative narratives and from just feeding my inner critic and for feeding my sense of perfectionism was I had to really be mindful about what I put in my vision, the imagery that I looked at, the stories that I looked at, the music that I listened to. I had to take stock. I had to tear down all of the struggle narrative about motherhood and whatever struggle and negativity and survivalism that was connected to that, because I wanted to build up a sense of wellness, a sense of feeling good about the roles that I was playing. So I had to be very mindful of the movies that I watched, the stories that I watched, the music I listened to, the people I listened to, while I was tearing out what was already negatively impacting and detrimentally impacting my life, so that when I put in the healthy code, I was putting in peaceability, respect, enjoyment. You know, there's so many different narratives out here, and I was already identified with a lot of narratives that were struggle-based, survival-based, detrimentally based. You can believe whatever you want, and that's what I had to learn. You can believe whatever you want. You build your reality from what you believe and what you identify with. And I needed a new identity. If I was going to be well and healthy in my 40s, then I needed to let go of the identity that I had in my 30s. And I needed to rebuild one that was healthier, stronger, more prosperous for my 40s. And so that's what I had to do. Another thing in my 30s that I really enjoyed was I started expressing myself. I started expressing myself more freely and more liberally in my hair, in my style. In most of my 20s, I had like I went natural when I was like 20, 21, way before the natural hair movement. So I had, natural, not a fro, but, natural like wash and go. In my 30s, I cut my hair short. Shorter than this and almost different styles. And I started dyeing my hair all different colors. I probably been every spectrum of red. I was pink at one time. I was violet at one time with a little bit of blue. I just I wanted to express myself and see myself in different ways. And I loved color in my hair. I got a whole new wardrobe and just tried out different styles. I used to do a lot of wearing clothes that covered myself up because I've always been curvy. And at the time in my 30s, I was over 300 pounds. So I was over 300 pounds, curvy, a lot of booty, lot on top, lot on bottom. But I was always covering up and being bulky in my clothes, just like I was bulky in my body because I was hiding within myself. Because I had a whole lot of unresolved shit going on. So I learned how to show more of myself in a way that suited me, that I enjoyed expressing myself, showing off my curves and showing my individuality, wearing different types of jewelry, playing with different types of styles, playing with different types of hair color, bleach blonde, all the way to pink, then to red, burgundy, like all different kinds of things. And I enjoyed expressing myself that way because it really broke me out of this what you should be doing, how you should be as a mom. I had to break myself out of that. So that was another thing that I really enjoyed doing when I was setting myself up to adopt and adapt healthier narratives. And another thing that I had to do And this came from, I mean, all of these things that I'm talking about kind of came through childhood into where I started dealing with them in my 30s, was believing myself more and believing others less. I can't say it no other way. Just really, part of that abandoning of myself was abandoning my reason, my logic and reason and my intuition for myself, and taking on other people's perspectives of me, which that was the catalyst for mental illness for me, to decentralize myself and try to see myself exclusively through someone else's perspective, because I held their perspective as more important than my own. That's totally being outside of yourself. That was me completely being decentralized and being outside of myself. So I had to learn how to come back into myself, believe myself. I want things that I wanted, the dreams that I have for myself, the goals and aspirations that I have for myself. When I would express it to someone in my 20s, my mom or my spouse, or, you know, friends who were not healthy for me, and they would tear it down, or they would try to steer me into something else, and then me listening to them, knowing full well these are the things I was dreaming of, physically dreaming about in my heart, holding dear in my heart, things that I had grown up with, like, you know, this is really what I see for myself. To decentralize and then put someone else's vision inside of me, that was, I really had to dig deep to overcome that, and to really take that narrative and that identification out, so that I could re-inhabit myself and not be possessed by everybody else's vision. And I had to start believing myself more and believing other people less, because people will manipulate you. I've been manipulated for the majority of my life, manipulated by my mom in, you know, in her narcissistic tendencies and narcissistic behaviors, and her, just the dichotomy of feeling like this person loves you and they want what's best for you, but then learning that it was twisted. It was a twisted expression. It was contorted expression. Being in relationships where people wanted to use my talents and would manipulate me to break down my sense of self-esteem so that I could be manipulated. But when I went too low, when I went too low in my self-esteem and I wasn't useful because I was just like so depressed and so out of it, then them having to kind of boost me back up and build me back up a little bit, but not too high, so I didn't think too highly of myself, so I would leave them, you know. And that, I could make a whole nother series of videos for that. But I had to really learn how to believe others less, unless they were pouring into me and encouraging me on what I already felt was right for myself, that I felt was healthy for myself. No, not enabling me, of course, to do some dumb jump off a bridge bullshit, but, you know, knowing that I wanted to work in a capacity like this, to share my story, to help others, and not trying to turn me away to something that was just going to benefit them, or not trying to discourage me so I didn't get too high to where I could see that they didn't need to be a part of my life, things like that, you know. I had to start getting eyes that could see, and see this person is not good for me. Every time I talk about the things that I want to do, they're steering me to something else that I know benefits them more or fulfills part of their agenda. No, I started believing others less and believing myself more. And that was big. Like, that part of my life was big, because I had to cut a lot of stuff out. I had to cut a lot of people out. I had to cut a lot of my own. I had to be, again, real with myself and tell myself the truth. You bullshitting. This is not working for you. This is not healthy for you. And it wasn't easy for me to take down and detach from those struggle narratives of the things that I was seeing around me. Because the core of it was that I knew that there was more for me. That I knew that I wanted to have a better experience of being the roles that I was playing. Whether it was mother, wife, sister, friend, cousin, whatever it was. But I had to believe myself that was possible, and believe others and outside stuff less. So that was the third thing that I had to do, so that I could really leave a lot of the toxic, detrimental behaviors and thought patterns and misalignment in my elements in my 30s and move into more wellness and vibrancy and just healthy lifestyle, healthy living in my 40s. So that's this video. I'm gonna go to the next video where we're gonna talk about the fourth thing that I needed to do in order to live out a more 40s wellness and vibrancy, just being who I wanted to be.